Today is Hispanic Heritage Day, sponsored by Goya on 77 WABC. And we're celebrating all day long.
Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Colombians, Ecuadorians, Argentines.
We're honoring Hispanic Americans and the contributions they have made to our great country. This is the Hispanic Heritage Roundtable, sponsored by Goya. Now, here's Dominic Carter.
And welcome to this very special event. I'm Dominic Carter. It's a great honor to be here with you as we honor Hispanic Heritage Day, sponsored by Goya. Round of applause, please, folks, for yourselves. So, this is about sharing the history, the heritage, the accomplishments, what's ahead of Hispanic and Latino Americans of past and present. And I would be remiss if I didn't start out this way. There are two people in this room that make events like this possible. They believe in New York more than anyone else I know. And when they took over control of WABC, which, by the way, I hope you folks have noticed how well WABC is doing in the ratings. Top radio station, one of them, in New York. But their mandate has filtered down to the rest of us, of inclusion, of one New York. And I have to start with the woman, and I have to be straight with you folks. I wouldn't be here without her advocating for my career. She has made it all possible for me, and I want you to please give her a round of applause. Those of you watching online, you won't be able to see her, but Mrs. Margot Katsimatides. Thank you, Mrs. Katsimatides, for your vision, for all you do for the children of New York, because I know, in terms of being at events early in the morning and giving and giving and giving and giving. Thank you very much. And the man that makes this all possible for us, the owner, operator of WABC, Mr. John Katsimatides.
Well, thank you, Dominic. And I lived on 135th Street in Manhattan, which was Spanish Harlem, for almost 25 years of my life. I got there, I was 6 months old. I'm very close to the Hispanic community. Freddie Farrar, I helped run his campaign when he was running for mayor. We ran twice at least, and my biggest argument with Freddie was, I used to call him Freddie. He said, and when I introduced him, somebody says, Fernando. I said, Freddie, Fernando. But we had a good time, and he would have made a great mayor for New York. But moving on, I looked at a couple statistics this morning. And in the United States, I think it's 19.1% of the population, 67 million people are Hispanic. And the other statistic that I didn't know is that in the United States, 45 million of that 67 million is Mexican. I didn't know that. In New York, it's what was it? It was like 32% Puerto Rican, 24% Dominican. So it's like 50 between Puerto Rican and Dominicans, 55%. And that's a big number. So I was, the other thing I said on Sid's show this morning, I was on at about 6:45 this morning, kicking off Hispanic Day along with Goya and Sid Rosenberg, is that the fact I was disappointed that the Hispanic community hasn't made more of inroads in our city, in our state. And I pointed out that the judge out in Suffolk County got knocked down from getting the top job. I forget his name.
For the state's highest court.
For the state highest court.
You're correct, Mr. Katsimatides.
And I understand he was very well qualified, but he was just knocked down. And so we never had a Hispanic mayor. the judge for the highest court. But and I believe that I'm glad that Mayor Adams, picked Eddie Caban, who's Puerto Rican, and that's the first time that a Puerto Rican is commissioner, and I look for the Hispanic community to make bigger inroads in our city, in our state, and that's what WABC stands for, is bringing everybody together. Thank you.
And thank you, and Mr. Catsimatidis, with great interest this morning, listening to Sid, from you to A-Rod to the police commissioner, who happens to be Latino, and the list went on and on and on. And again, folks, I'm about to introduce this power panel. You want to hear from these folks, but the messages come from the top, from ownership, that this is what we do at WABC. And so whether it's Greek Independence Day, whether it's celebrating Asian Americans, whether it's celebrating St. Patrick's Day, whether it's celebrating New York's black community.
Monday, Columbus Day.
Columbus Day coming up on Monday. Thank you for that. Yes, a round of applause. Columbus Day on Monday.
The Italians, please clap twice as hard.
And so, again, this is what we do, coming from the very top. This is what these people are all about. John and Margot Catsimatidis. And the lady right here is the chief counsel for the company. Counsel Emily, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you. And we're also joined by our program director, Matt Meany, in the back there. Matt, thank you. Let's get to the power panel. I want you folks to hear from these individuals. I don't like being involved with anything boring. So we're not going to do boring today. We're going to have a lively conversation. And nothing is going to be boring with a certain person on this panel. Hint, hint, over in the corner over there, over in the corner over there, with the cowboy, with his trademark cowboy hat on. He does not need an introduction. One of the great leaders of New York, the Reverend Ruben Diaz. And we all know his kids went into politics, his son serving as Bronx Borough president, a very prominent family in New York. We are joined by the very lovely, I'm going to go this way here, the very lovely Bronx Deputy Borough President. Her name is Janet Peguero. Thank you so much for joining us. To my immediate left, Stephen Marquez, who is the Vice President of the Hispanic Society for the Great FDNY. And sitting next to Mr. Catsimatidis, we have Mr. Joseph Ayala, who is the NYPD Hispanic Society President. And so we will start with the lady on the panel. We'll let her go first. And Hispanic Heritage Month was once a weekly celebration, I believe in 1968, and was expanded in 88 under President Ronald Reagan. I know that's a point that Reverend Diaz will probably hone in on. And so, broad brush, Deputy Borough President, where do things currently stand with the Hispanic community from your perspective?
You know, I think when we opened up, we mentioned it. We have a growing population, especially in the borough of the Bronx. 60% of the population of the Bronx is composed of folks that identify as Hispanics. And so it's a growing population, something that was rooted by the Puerto Rican community. And now we have a growing Dominican population as well. So we're seeing those numbers grow. We're seeing that both Puerto Ricans and Dominicans and other countries of Latin America are establishing themselves in the borough of the Bronx and growing. And we see that across the entire city of New York. But I'm going to be biased and speak about my Bronx. We are seeing that growing population. And, you know, there are strides in government and the way that the composition of government is also looking like. I am the first of Dominican descent to serve as Deputy Bronx Borough President for the borough of the Bronx, and that within in itself is historic. Why? Because now we need to start developing government to mirror the communities that it's serving.
and you focused on the Bronx. I don't see anything wrong with that. As someone that's from the Bronx, so we share that in common. So, Reverend Diaz, I want you to broad brush, and it's intentional why I'm opening up with a broad brush to see where you folks are mentally when I say discussing the Hispanic community.
Thank you, Dominic, and I would like to thank Mr. John Casamatiri and Margot because they are remembering us, and they do this last year and then doing Goya food. Si es Goya, tiene que ser bueno.
Eso.
Muy bueno.
Muy bueno.
But I would like to go back to Mr. Casamatiri's introduction when he said about the numbers of Hispanic. It is very interesting to hear that we have, I believe, the biggest number. Mm-hmm. And as of yet, we have been discriminated. We have been used by everybody. We have been helpful and needed. When any other group in the city of New York need votes, need help to get somewhere, Hispanic have been there. We Hispanic, we always have been there. But as of today, every time that a Hispanic try to become mayor or governor or whatever, one of the citywide or statewide position, we always have been discriminated. No one joined us. See, we're talking about the gray rainbow, the gray, we are good. But we Hispanic, we are good when we are needed. But we are not good when it is for us. And that's something that I have to say, and I will keep saying. And Mr. Casamatiri, gracias for saying it. Thank you for saying it. And for remembering to the community that we are today celebrating Hispanic heritage. But we have to get to a place where every other group has got.
Reverend, looking down from 51,000 feet down, one of the problems, especially in New York, you have the Dominican community and you have the Puerto Rican community. And sometimes they are diverse and don't work together and work at odds with each other. So I think that somebody in the Hispanic community that's prominent enough is to bring them all together, to work as one force versus working against each other.
So are we working together, Reverend? Un puertorriqueño y un dominicano, where it's. I think that there is that, but there's also a misconception that we don't work together. I think we work very well together. I think in any ethnic group there is work to be done, right? Because there's this engraved competition against one another. But when we come together, we work very well together. And I think folks like the Hispanic associations, that's what we're constantly working on to kind of mend those bridges and build that foundation of coalition, to your point, Reverend. I agree. There has to be stronger coalition.
We have been together. Now, when Herman Badillo ran for mayor, I mean, where was the black community? Where was
It's Dominic's fault.
Huh?
Well,
I mean, they put a black candidate to stop Herman Badillo. When Freddy Ferrer ran for mayor, where was the white community? They put I mean, we're talking about when we need really the rainbow, what they call, we have a beautiful rainbow community. When we need that, for the Hispanic, the rainbow has never been there.
I think that there's power in numbers, especially with the growing Hispanic community. Another issue, because I worked as a community organizer to campaign to encourage women to run for office, Latina women, support Latina and Black women to take up spaces. What we realized is the lack of voter registration in the Hispanic community. So Hispanics are not registering to vote. And I think, to your point, Reverend, there's this disconnect or this distrust in government because we don't see ourselves in those statewide, citywide positions. So we're discouraged. Why would I care to register to vote if they're not going to vote for us anyways. And I think it's, once again, building that coalition, encouraging, working with the associations, push our candidates forward and support, because we have the numbers. Let's register those numbers. 60% in a population, let's say in the borough of the Bronx, as a community, as a Hispanic community, we have the lowest registration numbers, voter registration numbers, and we have to change that.
I think the biggest challenge is, and I'll give you the challenge, in 5 weeks, you have 51 city council seats out of 51 are up. And I've encouraged Governor Patterson, who's on our panel, and Governor Pataki, who's on our panel, to work together to get more common sense city council members elected, because we don't want to turn our country into a socialist country. We don't want to turn our city into a socialist country. And I had an interview, an exclusive interview with President Bill Clinton on Sunday. I don't know if anybody heard it yet.
It's a great interview.
But we will give it to you, a copy of the link. And I worry that what happened in Venezuela. Venezuela was the wealthiest country in South America. Venezuela was the 5th wealthiest country in the world. And in 20 years, the socialists took that country down to compete with Cuba. This is sick. I do not want this to happen to the United States of America.
And that's what we have.
I love New York. I love our country. I'm an immigrant. I came here 6 months old. I believe in immigration. And I told this on the thing with President Clinton. I believe in immigration. Bill Fugazi was chairman of the Ellis Island Foundation. I was vice chairman of the Ellis Island Foundation. But we want the people coming in, we want to check them to make sure they're not terrorists, to make sure they're not drug dealers, to make sure that they're going to pledge allegiance to the United States of America. And I think to me, yes, immigration, yes, but a little bit of checks and balances, guys.
Well, I want to bring in the others.
No lo comiencen.
Reverend Diaz, I hear you on the point, and as a political reporter, I'm going to be honest with you. It's always bothered me to the point that you just made as an African American, because I remember well the election of Dinkins, who's no longer with us, and without someone that's good friends with Mr. Catsimatidis, without the Latino community, there's no David Dinkins, the city's first black mayor. The same case could be made as it relates to Mayor Adams. So you have 2 African-American mayors, and when Mr. Ferrer was up, it didn't seem that it was reciprocated, the relationship.
Thank you.
And so that's got to change. Let's bring in the other folks, and then we can continue.
Yeah, and after that, I want to go back to Mr. Catsimatidis.
Okay. See the memory? I tried to move on, and he says, no. Okay, so let me bring in Mr. Ayaya, who is the president of the NYPD Hispanic Society. A lot has been said already. We'll get to the migrant immigration issue, but broad brush, where do things stand with the Hispanic community?
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank Mr. Catsimatidis and Dominic and the whole staff here and the team for their tremendous hospitality and allowing us this opportunity. And the Goya food, oh man, the carne guisado and empanada. I guess I'm going to be going back for more.
Esa crianza de Goya, eh?
Yeah. But to go back, I think that where do we stand, right? Hispanic heritage, it allows us the opportunity to really embrace the invaluable and significant contributions of individuals who, Hispanic individuals who have come before us, have contributed to our culture and society. It's a time to reflect what Mr. Ruben Diaz touched on, the power of unity, and to recognize that the substantial progress that we've made throughout the years as Hispanics, particularly for us in law enforcement. Within the NYPD, for instance, we've witnessed a remarkable journey this year. where Hispanic representation has grown significantly over 30% within the workforce of the police department. That's over 14,000 Hispanic members of the service. We continue to break barriers and shatter glass ceilings and surpass the expectations, right? As witnessed the first time in the 178 years of the NYPD history, the first appointed, Hispanic police commissioner, the first Hispanic, Puerto Rican Hispanic chief of staff, Raul Pintos. So, we're pretty much showcasing to our community that we're capable of achieving greatness. And it's important that, we, that power and that unity of staying together to let our voice be heard, because as Mr. Catsimatidis said, New York City is 8.8 approximate, residents in New York City. Hispanic population represents over 2.5 million. It's a direct reflection of our power and what we can potentially accomplish of working together cohesively. The saying, you're a drop, raindrop, right? But working cohesively together, you're an ocean. So I think it's important, to focus and hone in on the power of our unity and also reflect on the past of those who came before us, within the NYPD, the Juan Cabans, the Andrew Riveras, the Jenny Marie Garcias, those people who advocated, for the advancement of Hispanics in the NYPD, so.
And everybody has a history. So you're citing these names, and these are names that I should know, but I don't. And so we all have a history.
Yeah.
And to hear that 14,000, you said,
Over 14,000.
Hispanics are in the police.
Over
police department?
14,000.
It's a big number.
An interesting statistic to look at is just alone in the rank of police officers, whites represent, for instance, 8,100, say. Hispanics are closing in that gap of 7,500. So you're talking potentially in a couple of years, Hispanic police officers are going to be the majority on this job.
Like the population of
Like the
society.
population, it's a
Yeah,
growing,
reflective.
population, yeah.
Mr. Marquez, the Vice President of the Hispanic Society of the FDNY. Same question for you. I mean, we know the great job that firefighters do, just like all other uniformed services, the city of New York. And we're going to get back to Mr. Catsimatidis and Reverend Diaz and the Bronx Deputy Borough President. But broad brush, where do things stand with the Hispanic community from your point of view, from the point of view of the FDNY?
All right. Again, thank you for inviting us here today. And just like Joseph Ayala said, food was good. All right. FDNY Hispanic Society is we're growing in numbers, not as much as NYPD, but we're getting there. We're about 15 to 20% of Hispanics getting on the job now. We're basically promoting it out in the field. We're basically our own billboard. So if they see a Hispanic come out of a fire truck,
Yeah.
oh, I could be a firefighter too.
Which is important.
It's
You know,
important.
so it's very important to the people to see that. This Hispanic Society has been formed since 1962 for situations like this.
And how long have you been on the job?
I've been on the job for this. In November, I'll make 17 years.
Wow.
17 years.
Yes.
Wow. Congratulations.
Congrats.
And I'm going to come right back to you, Mr. Ayala. How long have you been on the job?
Make 15 and a half years. Born and raised in the Bronx. My parents have.
See,
BX.
the Bronx
Come on.
connection. The Bronx connection.
That's what everything happened in the
Yeah,
Bronx.
get down
55
Bronx.
years.
Yes. Oh, Brooklyn. Okay.
We like the other borough with the letter B. It's okay.
I'm just curious before we move on. Why did you join the FDNY? Why did you join the NYPD?
I was a small kid living in East New York, Brooklyn. I used to live in a corner house where there was a firehouse. And that was my dream. Seeing the fire truck, seeing them go. And it was a passion for me to join the fire department. And I found my way, spoke to people, how do I apply? How do I apply? How can I get in? I did it, took the test,
And the rest is
And then
history.
the rest is history.
17 years later.
Yep, 17 years later.
You know, it's an interesting story that, you know, I met, what made me want to join the NYPD is other Hispanic police officers that I encountered throughout my life. You know, for instance, retired Lieutenant Eddie Maldonado, I had the opportunity to meet him when I was 18 years old, working in Yankee Stadium security. You know, he was working that detail there, and it was just words of encouragement. You know, join the police department, don't believe all the negativity, you know, little interactions like that throughout my life. You know, playing baseball in Katona Park, right there. You know, encountering Ray Serpa, who was a member, retired first grade detective, you know, playing on the baseball team and encouraging me, you know, to join the police department. Later on, I ended up playing for the New York City Police Department baseball team. So little interactions like that is what
Played a
encouraged
big
me.
role.
Yeah, exactly.
Reverend Diaz, Mr. Catsimatidis, I'm coming back to you, but he said he wanted to respond to something I think that you said.
Before that, I would like to say that my daughter, Damaris, is a retired police sergeant.
Oh, wow.
She put 20 years.
God bless.
But she was there when the police was respected. She was there when there was proud to be a police officer and it was respected. But to go back to Mr. Catsimatidis, when he says about the socialist movement, and he doesn't want Venezuela to come to America. We have to blame the Democratic Party. We have to say, is the Democratic Party the one that is bringing all those...
And what I find, Reverend, is that even though there's only 10% socialists in the Democratic Party or the City Council, those 10% socialists are very tough individuals, and the common sense Democrats, which I'm friends with, don't have the courage to stand up against them. So the common sense people have to stand next to the common sense Democrats and say, we're going to give you the courage to stand up against
the problem is that
the socialists.
If you speak, they call you homophobe, they call you anti-immigrant. Like for example,
They are terrorists in language.
Yeah, those immigrants coming on.
And they'll threaten individuals. There's a congressman upstate, a common sense Democratic, I forget, senator or congressman, that they already threatened and saying, you're not saying the right things, we're going to come after you. So they pick targets. But somebody has to have the courage to stand up against them. And Reverend, you have the courage. You guys have the courage. You have to do what you have to do. And we got to get the vote out. Get the vote out. You have 51 seats coming due.
The way the Democratic Party is going is forcing Hispanic. More and more Hispanic every day are moving to the Republican. I'm opening their hearts to Republican to the point that I am the president of the New York Hispanic Clergy Organization. We are 150 Hispanic ministers. We are planning, if this continue, I'm going to take about 50 Hispanic ministers. We're going to make a press conference. We're going to switch parties. Because this is something...
WABC is available. It's become one of the most powerful radio stations in New York. It's available to you anytime you want it for common sense. I don't care if they're Democrats, Republicans. I only care about common sense.
I want to say this. I don't know if he walked out the room. I think I just saw Chad Lopez. Did he walk out? Can you ask him to come back in just for a hot second, please? See, I believe, folks, that... yes, you listen to what people say, but you watch what they do.
Right.
Right? So talk, but what do you do?
And follow the money.
And
follow the money.
Follow the money.
And that's the part, you know, I hear you. I understand your perspective. I understand the frustration. But I think through voter registration, through community Hispanic coalition, we could affect change by pushing candidates that do have common sense and also following the money.
17% voted.
Exactly, and there's a huge disconnect because folks are discouraged to one vote because government is not reflective, going back to NYPD, going back to FDNY, not reflective of the communities that they serve. And you were encouraged to join because you saw someone there, right? So the more we take up space in these positions, the more that we will encourage folks to come in and then follow the money. Look at these candidates. Where are their where's the discretionary funding going to? What
point.
initiatives,
Key
right?
point.
And then you look at
Discretionary
others,
spending.
and then we can look at the Republican candidates too, and look at where they're spending their money too. What neighborhoods are they spending? There's a economic development disparity because some folks just want to take care of particular communities, right? And so the more we encourage people to register to vote, the more we build a coalition to support Democrats that are going to bring those resources and the money back to the communities that they pledged to serve, the more I think that, this frustration can kind of diminish, because look at these candidates and look at where their money is going to. I think that that's a piece that folks, we get round up on parties and being, Republican, socialist, but we need
John Catsimatidis and Margot to continue doing what they're doing, because when they came to this radio station, they have been educating the community. All their program, all their person that comes into the air, they are educating, and the community, Mr. Catsimatidis, thank you very much as a Hispanic, because you have been a voice. This radio station have been a voice and educating our community and telling the truth, talking to them.
Thank you. And I'm chairman of the Police Athletic League.
Oh.
I've been there for 40 years. Mr. Morgenthau trained me, and since Mr. Morgenthau passed, and we help the black and brown kids in the neighborhoods, and we work very closely with the police department, and we try to help them, because we don't want those kids hanging around the candy store or the pizza shop and getting in trouble. And the other thing, one of the reasons maybe I lost the primary in the Republican, I was a Bill Clinton Democrat. I ran Bill Clinton's campaign. And one of the reasons I lost is I was against marijuana. I lost Manhattan. And you know what happens to our kids from the ask any doctor, any neurologist, from the age of 12 to the age of 24, 25, if they smoke marijuana, it reduces their IQ by 15%. The other thing I did at the Police Athletic League, I put my foot down on boxing, because kids from the age of 12 to 24, 25, if they get hit in the head enough time, it reduces their IQ again by 15%. So I care about the kids of the inner city. And you have some guys, this guy from Staten Island pushing the NYPD to bring boxing back, and I'm fighting it, because it helps the kids for a year or two, but if it ruins the kids for the rest of their lives, what good is it?
Yeah.
And that's what we stand for. We want what's right for our kids, because they're our future. And that's why we can't turn our country into Venezuela, because we're going to be okay. It's our kids and grandkids to come that will not have a life. And one of the things I told Bill Clinton on the interview on Sunday, that what I'm worried about, 2076, the 300th year of the United States of America, if we keep going on the way we're going on right now, our kids and grandkids are not going to have the life we have, freedom of speech in the United States of America.
I just want to say this before we continue. Mr. Catsimatidis, what he's talking about is planting seeds. And I'm telling you, folks, as somebody who's been doing this for 40 years in New York, Mr. Catsimatidis, Margot Catsimatidis, they're about planting seeds. Planting seeds with kids that look like me, planting seeds with kids that look like you. We're not going to be here forever. The next deputy borough president, the next executive at the Hispanic Society of the Fire Department, perhaps the commissioner, the next president of the Hispanic Society of the NYPD, we already see a Latino is the commissioner, so perhaps the next step is mayor for the Latino community. It is long overdue, the Hispanic community. What I was saying about Chad Lopez, right? Again, a reflection of the Catsimatidis. So they have me hosting this event with you. They don't just have me hosting the minority events. They have me sometimes hosting the other events for other communities. So they're straight up people is what I'm trying to say to you. So Chad Lopez just walked by. There he is right there. There he is right there.
Venezuela.
Chad Lopez.
Venezuela.
Chad Lopez.
His father was from Venezuela.
Thank you, sir. Chad Lopez, who runs the president of Red Apple Media, a personal guide to my career outside of Margot Catsimatidis. And he is of Latino descent. That's because of the Catsimatidis. He runs all of this for the Catsimatidis.
And I got to say something else. You know, we own Gristides. It used to be Red Apple. It used to be called Sloan's. I would say 85% of our employees, including management, is Latino, or black or Latino.
Mr. Lopez?
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Appreciate it. This is a great day. WABC, when I first met John and Margot, and John had a conversation with me and said, here's what I want to do. I want to buy the station. He goes, it's not just the station. He goes, the WABC call letters, heritage call letters, we can make a difference in New York. And he said, I want to make a station that's going to mirror New York City, every ethnicity, every culture, community, and give New Yorkers a station that they all can relate to. Right? And I said, that's a great idea. He goes, so we're going to honor every ethnicity, every community, and that's where our successes come from, right? And we've done a great job this past year in just establishing relationships throughout communities that has helped, and we've made a difference in communities when they would say to John, John, here's what's going on in my community. Here's what's happening in my community. And John will go on air, use the radio station to, if he believes and he backs it, and we've made some significant changes in some of the communities throughout New York City. So I'm really proud of what we've been able to do here at WABC, but more importantly, I'm really proud of what we're doing today for the Hispanic culture and community.
Beautiful.
So thank you. And thank you, John, Margot. Thank you for what you do at WABC.
And because of the Catsimatidis, I mentioned the future with the FDNY for Hispanics, the NYPD, the next president of Red Apple Media, based on what they've done, could also be of Hispanic descent. And so we short on time. I could go on forever, but we can't. And so in closing statements, we're going to move to closing statements. I also want you to address this, folks. The impact of the migrant situation. We already know the shelters are bursting at the seams and how all this is playing out, but tie that in your closing statements. I'll just open up for whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first because we got, by the way, we got to keep this a little shorter because we're going to put this on our website where we have as many as 20 million people viewing it.
Beautiful.
And if it's too long, nobody's going to view it. So my closing statement is I love New York. I love America. And we got to do everything we can to save it because I think we're on the wrong road. And I'm in a lot of businesses. We're in the real estate business. We're in the oil business. We're in the, supermarket business. And I just want to do the right thing by everybody. And the thing that we have to look at on immigration, on your request, immigration, yes. Checks and balances on who's coming and going. If you don't have a country that you know who's coming and going, you don't have a country. And I think what our forefathers did and have Ellis Island, my suggestion to Mayor Adams was take Rikers Island, change the name to Ellis Island 2. All the people coming in, put them there. Check them out. Find out who they are. Find out if they have diseases before you put the kids next to your kids in the schools. Make sure they don't have tuberculosis. They're going to give your kids tuberculosis. Check them medically. That's what Ellis Island did. Check them, make sure no terrorists, no, that they're going to pledge allegiance to the United States of America. And then you release them. And you give them, and like Bill Clinton said on my thing, you give them job permits. But there's got to be checks and balances. Ellis Island, they used to have, we need 10,000 carpenters this year. Bring in 10,000 carpenters. We need 10,000 electricians because we're short. Bring in 10,000 electricians. But it can't be just an invasion. And I want to thank you all for being here today. I got to run because I have an appointment I got to go to. Chad Lopez, come take my seat and finish up. But thank you,
And I would like
Reverend.
to thank you,
I'm here.
Mr. Casamantini.
I'm here for you guys.
Thank you.
Whatever you need
Thank you so
from
much.
us, we're here for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, and I would like
Dominic,
to,
thank you.
and I would like to close by saying that we have to close the border.
Yes.
We cannot continue with opening those borders
We have
and
to know what's
taking
coming.
away the benefit and the education and those resources from our people, from the League of Residents, to be given out to people that are coming without for us to get to without resources for us to maintain them. So we have to close the border and stop inviting them to come.
Bronx Deputy Borough President.
You know, I am an immigrant. I was born in the Dominican Republic. I came to this country at the age of 6. My parents were immigrants. Their parents were immigrants. I believe in the American dream. I truly do. I believe in the opportunities that this great nation has offered many immigrants. What I believe in is that we need to fix our existing infrastructure. I believe that our newcomers, our neighbors, can contribute to the economic development of our city. But I also would appreciate both parties to stop using it as a campaign ploy. Both sides, both the Democrats and the Republicans, and come together to find viable solutions for the crisis. We have a very sensitive infrastructure. There are solutions. If we can support other wars outside of our nation, we can fix our immigration system in the nation. And, you know, from the federal government to state government to local, I believe that as the strongest city in the nation, we can serve as a model for the rest of the country. Again, this city was built on immigration. Let's not forget. Let's be very clear. This nation was built off of immigration, and it will continue to blossom off of immigration. But we need a system. We need operations. We need order, absolutely. And I know that those on top and the folks that are here at the table can be a part of the solution and not spread hate.
Mr. Ayaya.
Thank you, Dominic, Mr. Casamantidis, for your significant contributions to the Hispanic community. I just want to say that this month we get to celebrate the rich history and vibrant legacies of the Hispanic community, and what Janet mentioned, you know, what this country was built on. It's you know, we shaped the narrative of America, and we fortified the fabric of this great nation. And I just want to stress that it's important that unity is our greatest asset, right? By standing united, right, we can continue to make strides towards a more inclusive and diverse, you know, for instance, a police force, where our voices are heard and our perspectives are valued. So I just want to thank everyone for the incredible opportunity to be here. I want to give a shout out to my membership, my delegates, my trustees, the executive staff, the NYPD Hispanic Society, the incredible work that they do. So again, thank you guys for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you. Mr. Marquez.
Yeah, basically the same thing. You know, we got to work in unity as Hispanics, try to promote ourselves more out there, things like that. And that's it with the
Okay.
situation.
So in a second, I'm going to ask Mr. Lopez to close us out here, our president. But I'm known for asking trick questions, lightning round questions. You see them in debates these days.
We're
So
from
I'm
the
gonna-
Bronx, I
so-
don't know.
So I'm going to end with this one. I hope I pronounce this right. So there are a lot of places, food-wise, where, I hope I said this right, porqueria is... Food is okay, I guess. I'm trying my
Porqueria?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
What is it? What is it?
Porqueria?
What does that mean?
Like just,
Right.
trash.
So in your local communities, where's the place to get good Hispanic food, Spanish food? Reverend Diaz.
Sabrosura.
I love Salvador.
And-
Up on Castle Hill, right? Yeah.
Okay. Deputy Borough President.
Listen, my husband and I have been on many dates at Sabrosura. You know, the Bronx is there's so many spots, but I love Sabrosura. I gotta.
see that?
That's my
That's the one
spot.
I gotta
I'm
get
gonna
to.
invite you to
That-
Sabrosura.
Okay, that's the one I gotta get
It's a beautiful.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Just like you said, there's a lot of selections all around the 5 boroughs.
In your local community.
But my local community in Queens and Jackson Heights, I would say there's a few spots called one Pio Pio,
Pio Pio.
and then you got a nice spot called Bocadito, right next door from my firehouse where I work at.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Wow, we're talking about food.
I'm
That's
telling you, in the Bronx is tough. You're gonna.
there's
Someone's
said it
gonna
was a
take it
trick question.
personal.
I said it was a trick question.
There's a multitude of restaurants. You know, like you said, Sabrosura, you can't go wrong with
Sabrosura,
that.
you can't go
Bocadito,
wrong,
like,
can't go
listen, it's con sofrito.
Con
You know, there's a lot of spaces that have tremendous,
Sofrito.
food that But yeah, that's a hard question to answer. It's
And
the
I'm
most
putting,
restaurant.
and closing us out, I'm putting my boss, my immediate boss, on the spot. Do you have a place?
I'm
where
going
you'd
to
like
stay at
get
our line
food?
of fire here. So,
Yeah,
and
see,
since
it's-
Empanada Mama gave us the food today, I'm going to have to say something.
Okay.
Mama empanada, mama empanada.
Chad,
Listen,
you-
if you're in the Bronx, you can't go wrong with any caridad. Caridad will fix you
That's right.
un lonche.
That's
close
right.
us out, please.
No, well, first off, thank you again to everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. While it looks like we don't have a big audience, the audience that's going to see this later as we put the video out is going to be tremendous. And our second biggest day here is Hispanic Heritage Day for downloads, viewership. The Hispanic population is a strong population in New York City. When you were just saying we lead by example, we should lead by example, which we are, right? In the Hispanic community, as with any race, any ethnicity, anything, religion, morals, respect, work ethic, right? That's what New York City was built on. My parents are immigrants. A lot of us, your parents are immigrants that came here and was given the opportunity to do that. I think it's really important for us to help immigrants coming in. However, let's do it the right way and make sure that they still hold those values. And I think we can build New York City and the country again.
And I would like to say thank you to WABC for this day and to Goya Food. Si es Goya, tiene que ser
que ser
bueno.
bueno.
And that's why this day is so good.
See that? Another plug for our content.
And thank you, everyone, for attending WABC's Hispanic Heritage Day 2023, sponsored by Goya. Thank you for attending. Thank you to the lovely panel. You folks were wonderful. You've got an amazing political career ahead of you. Remember, I said that. Thank you all
Can
for
we
attending.
not add
folks.
that to the?
Let's vote now. Let's vote now.